talk about recruiting. I think that's your theme this week. I'm not sure. But I thought, how apropos is it to speak about recruiting to start the week off by understanding how our brain, our noggin, plays a huge role in how we recruit. I want to start by having an understanding that there is actually one thing that successful people do that they have in common. And I really feel like we don't hone in on that enough as human beings. And so if you were to ask 100 consultants, okay, let's say we ask 100 top consultants, okay, and I'm not just talking SSDs or superstar directors, I'm talking about top performing consultants, people that earn these trips, people that are earning the annual awards, that type of thing, okay? Those to me are top consultants that are really focusing on their business, working their business every day, and they're successful in their business. So if you were to ask 100 successful consultants what they did to become successful, you would hear things like, I did home parties. I have a great follow-up system. I send out texts to my customers. I have a great Facebook party. I do texting parties. I create content that people can relate to. I have systems in place. I cold call people. I buy ads that people see. I use Marketplace. You're going to hear lots of things that these top successful people do in order to be successful in their business. Here's the thing. You could implement all of those things in your business and still not be successful. Why is that? Like, you literally, don't get me wrong, they're all great things. Those are all amazing things that you could be implementing in your business. But it doesn't mean that if you implement all of those things or even one of those things, that you're going to be successful. Right? I might be really good at Facebook parties and you're not. You might be really good at home parties and I'm not. You might have systems in place. I hate systems. Okay? Do you understand this part of that so far? So it is highly possible that even if you implement all of those things, that you will not necessarily be successful. But here's the thing. Not everybody's going to do the same thing in their business. Not everybody's going to do the same thing the same way, right? Facebook parties can look different for everybody. But there still is one thing that people do that successful people do. And that one thing is that they think differently. They think differently. You have to really align your thinking with the success that you're wanting to have. So if it's geared around recruiting, because recruiting is one of the things that we do in our business that helps us become successful, right? There's only two things that we do. We share the product and we share the opportunity. That's it. Oh, look at that. Let's celebrate that, shall we? Oh gosh. So it is super important to be focusing on the things that you're wanting in your business. Yes, I have notes and I'm looking at them, so I'm sorry. I don't want to forget anything. But the one thing that we have to do differently is think different. Okay? So, for instance, when you're feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, angry, and we all get there. We are all doing those things almost on the daily, right? We have one of those feelings that flutter in throughout the day. You have to remember that that feeling is actually stifling your creative pathways. Like, it actually stops you in your tracks from moving forward, from having the ability to have forward momentum, right? So, okay, so what I want to explain is, when you are feeling good, you can move forward. When you are feeling crappy, you're going to stop doing what you're doing, because we just don't have the wherewithal to move forward and keep forward momentum. So joy equals forward momentum, and overwhelm, frustration, anger equals halting. Okay? So I want to explain something. Some of you have heard this before, but I believe it, I understand it, and I want to make sure that everybody knows. Okay? I honestly believe that if everybody in this world had the understanding of what I'm about to share next, that our world would change. And this is what it is. Our brain has something called the reticular activating system. It's part of your brainstem, and it is the piece of our brain that helps us filter through the muck of a day. Okay? Imagine how many things, imagine how many things are coming at us every second of every day. Colors, sounds, visions, things that you're seeing. Just imagine the millions of gazillions of things that are being thrown at you on a daily basis. Your reticular activating system is the filter to help keep you sane, so that all of these things do not make you crazy. Okay? Why do you think we get overwhelmed? Because we're allowing a lot of that stuff in, right? Okay, so reticular activating system, Google it, right? Because it's a wonderful piece of our brain, a highly underutilized piece of our brain. And here's why: because the understanding is not there. Our brain is separated in a 10%, 90% way. 10% of our brain is conscious thought. That means 90% of our brain is unconscious thinking. Makes sense, right? Because it's how we breathe. When I'm talking and I'm moving my hands and making all the balloons come up, that's kind of those are unconscious thoughts. The fact that I just shook my head while I was talking, that is unconscious thought. Okay? Our breath, unconscious thought. Walking, talking, kind of an unconscious thought after you've learned to do it for so long, right? 10% of our brain is our conscious thinking. Our unconscious brain has no way to think on its own. It doesn't produce thought. I know this sounds a little deep, but stay with me. The RAS is what filters that 10% and matches it up to our unconscious thought. Okay? So, for instance, perfect example. You go and buy a new yellow car. You're at the lot. You're ready to drive it off the lot onto the road. And all of a sudden, there are yellow cars, maybe even your brand, everywhere. Like, you're seeing them everywhere. They were always there. You were just never consciously aware of those, right? But because you have now entered information in the 10% of your brain about yellow cars, your unconscious mind says, okay, that's important to her. Let's match her up. Let's show her more of that. Think about that. If you are sharing a story in your head that says something like, oh my gosh, I am never recruiting. Nobody ever wants to join my team. I don't know how to recruit. I can't recruit. Nobody wants to talk to me about recruiting. If that is the story that you are putting into the 10% of your conscious thought, remember, your unconscious brain is a matchmaker to the conscious thought. And so if you're constantly telling yourself that you don't do recruiting or you can't do recruiting, your unconscious brain says, okay, Edie, you can't do recruiting. So let's do more of that. Okay? So think about that. All right? So our thought is the biggest difference between a successful person and someone who is not successful. Someone who is successful at recruiting has a story they're telling themselves about, you know what, it's easy to talk to people about recruiting. I just talk to them. I just share the opportunity with them. And I don't know how they join or why they join, but they join. My unconscious mind is now saying, oh, she's good at recruiting, so let's make it easy for her. Let's match that up in her outside world. You following me? Okay. This is actually a very quick message because I feel like it's such a targeted practice that you have to do. Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you, that's not to say that there's going to be some crap that enters that 10%. What matters is how long are you going to sit in that distaste or this disdain? How long are you going to sit in the negativity before you change the story so that your unconscious mind will pick that up instead of the unhappiness and the anger and the frustration that you're having, right? We can't control what's happening out there. We can't. That's part of the gazillion things that are going to come at you. What we can control is how we play it as a story in our conscious thought so that our unconscious mind can match it up. I say this saying all the time. The story that we tell ourselves about ourselves is the story we believe and the story we play out in our lives. And that's because the story I tell about the story I share in my conscious brain, my thought, is the story that my unconscious mind is going to match up. If I say, Edie, you're ugly, my unconscious mind says, yeah, you are. Right? But if I say, Edie, you're pretty, my unconscious mind says, yeah, you are. It has no ability to argue with you. It has no ability to argue with you. It only has the ability to match up what you're putting in there. So wouldn't you want that to be some good stuff? Wouldn't you want that story to be, I am a rock star recruiter. I can talk to anybody. I can talk to anybody because I love Scentsy and I know that I have the wherewithal to share what this opportunity can do for people. I literally am a recruiting rock star. Like, why wouldn't anybody want to join my team? Right? Because I love Scentsy. Like, I love Scentsy. My unconscious mind during that whole thing is like, oh yeah, okay, let's do more of that. Let's get more people involved. Let's surround ourselves. Let's position ourselves in places where she can feel like she's a recruiting rock star. Okay? It's pretty deep, but it's very powerful. And here's the thing, this is not hooey pooey stuff. This is legit scientific ability that our brains have to function on a daily basis. Wouldn't it behoove us to know that and to work it the best that we can? It is our most powerful tool. It really is. And my new saying is, enthusiasm is a superpower. Like when I get jazzed up and I'm super excited about something, very often that is contagious. That's a superpower. I can help other people be enthusiastic with my enthusiasm. Smiles are contagious, so are yawns, right? Okay. That was my message today. I hope you find this helpful because if you can start here and understand that the one difference between successful people is how they think, then anybody can be successful. Yeah, even you. Absolutely. Okay. I hope you have an amazing day. Better yet, go make it an amazing day for somebody else.